Part 4. This is part 4.
Oh, see, which one's the Wolverines?
Michigan.
That's Michigan? Yeah. I always like the...
Michigan State was coached by John L. Smith. That should be an automatic fit. That should be an automatic strike against you for that one.
Just the Wolverines, I like the mascot. I mean, it's kind of like women, liking the team with pretty uniforms, but nonetheless, I always thought the Wolverines were cool.
And at one time or another in my football studies, I actually downloaded and read John L. Smith's Michigan State playbook, though, too. I told Tommy Johnson and his son Robert about it, and they nearly just lost it. I
have a friend that has been a real football junkie for years and played the NCAA brackets, and they were running a bracket one year. And, he studies the teams and everything, stuff, and records, and looks at the matchup, and plays fantasy football and all that. And so, he really studies it hard. And his wife, who likes football but
doesn't
really don't understand, she's not what you call, just a real rabid fan. So here's the criteria. He would run the numbers and look at everything very carefully and study it, make his picks. She would look at the two teams' uniforms and pick the one
that looked better
she liked best.
And she'd beat his brains, wouldn't she?
She was 7-3.
Jeez.
I think he was like 4-6.
You remember the old Phil Silver show back in the 50s?
Phil Silver show.
Sergeant Bilko, You'll Never Get Rich?
Oh, yeah.
There's a great episode at one time called Bilko's Lucky Day, and it's one day the gods above decided to strike Sergeant Ernest G. Bilko with the knowledge and the luck and the wisdom of it all.
Yeah.
And they gave it to him, and anything he picked, he couldn't lose. Never lost.
Right.
And he ends up going mad trying to stay afloat and win. He ends up betting everything he can.
Yeah.
And it's a hilariously funny episode. Just the constant misadventures. Like one guy from the library calls him and says, "Oh, by the way, yeah, we need your picks for the horse races today," and stuff like that. And he says, "I'm sorry, I'm busted though too. No more betting." And he goes, "Oh, just because you lost $100 yesterday doesn't mean you're just trying to think out of giving me the money today. No, I'm actually busted." And he goes, "You tell him," and he says, and the bookmaker says, "Well, you tell him you better give me my $100, or I'm going to tell him everything." And he goes, "Well, yeah, and I'll tell him who got you the line to get you all those horse betting, running that illegal horse betting game out of the library." And he screams back, "I'll tell him who sold me the wire." And that pretty much thinking, "Oh, great."
That would be the thing if you could time travel, if you could leap back like Sam did in Quantum Leap. But I think the only place Sam was off there was I think you'd have to leap back into your own brain. But nonetheless, that would be the one thing I want to carry back with me. I want to carry back a basic knowledge of the biggest horse odds that flipped.
I'll tell you.
And then the biggest gaining stocks there for a few years. And then I would immediately go in, I would hit a couple of those big flips on horse bets, and I'd take that money and dump it in the big stocks.
Now, actually, there's an episode the last season of the show that they did that, where Sam ends up playing this constant gambler and stuff like that, who's constantly who's a bigamist.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And there's the episode, and then Sam realizes, I got to figure out how to do this, though, too. Who wins the race?
Right. And
Al pretty much tells him, well, we can't do that, though, too. There's a rule against it. And Sam goes, well, what idiot came up with that rule? You did. And then it says, and Al says, I kept telling you the whole time, Sam, we shouldn't be doing this. Could come in handy. And Sam, being of the high moral ground and standards, said no. And the one time you need it, it blows up in his face.